All right, let's talk about the secrets of Vaal Temple and what you need to know about fracture farming. If you've been around for this league or you've hung around in Necropolis League, you know that fracture farming was a big thing. Rogue, Exile, Anarchy, All Flames were all the rage. And, well, Redviles did a really good job of bringing this information out to you guys. Red showed us that we can go farm Rogue Exiles in Vaal Temple. We can get a ton of fractures. We can use the Horned Awakening Scarab, the Scarab and Containment, the Ambush Scarab, and the Hidden Compartments. We could flash this tree, and then we could do things. Now that I've gotten all the yapping done for the guys that hate the yapping, let's talk about what's going on and what's important. Earlier in the league, these All Flames were a problem. These All Flame Embers of Anarchy, they put tons and tons and tons of Rogue Exiles into your map. And those Rogue Exiles became a problem. There were so many of them, and they were dropping so much loot, and they were breaking the servers, and everybody was complaining, and things were exploding. And then they got nerfed. And they made it so there was only X amount of Rogue Exiles per pack. People dumped all their All Flames. They got rid of them. They thought they were bad. Nobody thought we would talk about All Flames ever again. It wasn't a thing. And then a couple of people said they were still doing this. They were still using this Imbued Scarab, this Horned Scarab of Awakening for Imbued Anarchy. The strat was alive. Things were good. You were essentially able to put Rogue Exiles in your map again and have them drop fractured loot. The original argument was that there wasn't enough loot. The All Flames got nerfed. Why would you do this? Why would there's no point. It's all nerfed. And then we tested it. We tried it. We did it, and it worked. Now, I'm going to include this for you guys in the description down below, but Red has done an absolutely fantastic job of creating a Google Doc with all of the strats that he's been doing, everything that's been going on. And one of those strats is fractured farming. And this is where the idea came from. He has this awesome fracture farming strategy where he says that you should use Imbued Anarchy on 90% quant Vaal Temple maps. And it's insane. It's actually insane. The way it works is we put this armor on, and I wouldn't do this strategy at all without this armor, is we use this armor. The items that are magic drop identified. Without this armor, there's tons and tons of items. It's not really worth it. The armor right now in this current state is back down to 2, 3, 4 divs. When Red made this strategy originally, this armor was 40, 50 divs. I can't guarantee the price of this armor, but I will say if you are thinking about doing this and you are going to try this strategy, this armor is 100% the bee's knees. I've re-rolled off of the AFK farm to go do this, and I think this strategy is great. Now, when Red talks about this, he says that you want to use Vaal Temple maps with over 90% quantity. When you go on trade and you buy Vaal Temple maps, they're roughly 20C a piece in bulk. And you have this problem where you get a bunch of these Vaal Temples that aren't over 90 quant. So if you want, you can go out there, you can go to TFT, you can go on trade, you can ask for only Vaal Temples over 90% quantity, and you can run the map and do the strat. Essentially what we're doing is we're putting a bunch of strong boxes on the map. We're doing the Imbued Scarab, like I mentioned and showed earlier, for Imbued Anarchy. We're adding in strong boxes that are able to be reopened, and we're putting all the mobs inside of strong boxes. What happens now is when we do it like this, we get over 30 boxes in a map. All of those boxes in theory will have Rogue Exiles, and all of those Rogue Exiles, as you'll see real shortly, will drop a lot of loot. We're tailoring our map or our Atlas tree, which is subject to change, and keep up with this video in the future with notifications and turned on and all that stuff and check back. This tree is subject to change, but right now what we're doing is we're taking the node for additional strong boxes. We're putting mobs that are guarding the strong boxes. This will spawn mobs naturally outside the box. We're taking a bunch of nodes to juice the Rogue Exiles that spawn outside of mobs. We're taking nodes for shrines, and the shrines are guarded by packs of mobs so that we get more Rogue Exiles. We have 30 plus boxes on the map, so we're taking all of the box opening nodes for extra chances at boxes. We're taking some Scarab nodes. We're taking map effect modifier nodes to scale how many maps or how many boxes we see in a map. We're making all of our boxes rare and corrupted. We're giving a bunch of chance to open them again. And we're pretty much just doing a very standard, almost back to basics, kind of sort of like tree, where we take map effect nodes, box nodes, map tier up nodes. We're doing this for a couple of reasons. One, we want to farm all of the fractured items that we can. 2, we're opening a whole lot of boxes in this map. And 3, we want to reopen as many boxes as we can and try to get as much loot as we can. And 4, tier 17 maps are pretty good right now. I have recently found out that a bunch of people are actually doing tier 17 maps, very specifically Fortress, and they're re-rolling their maps to have volatile barrels on them so that they can like do this crazy barrel stretch. So there's a really good world where, and there's a lot of videos on this, where you look for tier 17 maps and you essentially just roll them to have barrels on them and then you sell them. They're worth a lot of money with barrels on them. They're worth way more on Fortress, so we want to farm Fortress. Now, if you don't know and you go to the POE wiki for tier 17 maps, pretty much tier 17 maps have a natural pool where the tier 17 maps shop. So Vaal Temple, unfortunately, is not on the list of maps that is natural, but maps that are natural tier 17s that drop Fortress would be Castle Ruins and Lava Chambers. So we know right now that we're going to be farming the boxes. We know that we're going to be targeting tier 17 maps, and we know that we're going to be targeting Fractures and Rogue Exiles. So we have all this information. We know that we're going to be running maps that are over 90% quantity, and we know that we're going to be buying a lot of maps off of trade. Now, here's the real kicker, and here's where the real fun part comes in, and this is why you're going to be happy that I started yapping. A lot of these maps are unrunnable. A lot of these maps have really low quant. A lot of these maps you just can't do anything with. They are absolutely positively useless. They're 40 quant, 50 quant, and wasting the resources when these scarabs are really expensive. Like this one's about a half a divine, 0.6 of a divine. This one's about 0.6 of a divine. Is not really worth it on these really low quality maps. Even buying and putting on 5 all flames, especially with the price of divines right now, these are about 20 C each, is not worth it on bad maps. But it becomes worth it when the maps drop Fortress. When one map drops Fortress, it becomes worth it. When one map has 100 plus quant or 90 plus quant, it becomes worthless or worth it. So how do we do that? Well, step 1, instead of running this 81% quant map that gives me all these negative effects, I'm going to take my 5 bad ones, I'm going to 5-to-1 them at the vendor, and I'm going to sell them. What happens now is this map is no longer corrupted and is able to be scoured, chiseled, horizoned into Castle Ruins, which is the best map to be doing this on. You then get to look and check out what you're doing and roll a nice map. You're going to roll yourself a map that you can get as close to or higher than 100% quant. So look at this. We have a nice 95% quant map. We're then for 6 chaos going to go over to our menagerie. When we go over to our menagerie, we're going to put this beast on. We're going to come into here. We're going to put our map. You actually probably want to split it first before you do this because I'm an idiot and I forgot. So you want to take your nice map for 6 chaos. You want to split your map. Now you have 2 of them. Now you got to re-roll it. I'm an idiot. So make sure you roll it second. But now you have quality rolled Vaal chaos maps with tons of quant on them. I wouldn't corrupt these. You could. I wouldn't. And now we're going to put our map in. We're going to come down to Imbued Anarchy. We're going to click it. We're going to have our thing for boxes, and we're going to go run our map. Chaos right now is worth a ton. I would highly suggest that you take the red side altars. I hate red altars just for the simple fact that you want to, get chaos orbs. Outside of that, because a lot of maps don't spawn naturally in the map, I did not take any of these nodes for increased modifiers for all flames or corpses. You won't really see a lot of them. The only mobs that are going to spawn naturally in your map are the maps that are guarding the box and the random occasional rogue exiles. I know Red talks about not taking this node because he doesn't want to deal with the increased rarity, but I'm personally taking this node because I want the insane amount of quant that these random rogues do spawn. Something to keep in mind when you're running these maps and you're doing these maps, because they're 107% quant, because they're scaled to the moon, are very, 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 very difficult. You can also take a Deli Orb and slam a Deli Orb on these. The Delirium does not affect the mobs inside of the box. The Delirium will affect the mobs that are outside of the box. but the delirium will make the map very, very, very difficult. Just something to keep in mind. When you do this strategy, like I said earlier, I would not run this without the armor. The armor is way too valuable. As far as Anarchy All Flames go, I would put Anarchy All Flames on every pack of mobs that does not have a low or very low count. So in this map, for example, this mob has very low. I would not put Anarchy All Flames on this. I would put Anarchy All Flames on the rest of these, and I would just open my map, fingers crossed, hope for the best. When you do this farming strategy, you need to know a couple of things. One, it's tedious, it's annoying, simply due to the fact that you're going to get so much loot that your head is going to explode, and this is post-nerf loot. Two, you're going to have to price out everything and look at the prices on everything. There are a lot, and I mean a lot, of big ticket items that you can get in these maps that are very good, and you can see, look, there's a natural spawning rogue exile right there and right there. And when you kill these guys, they will be rough, they will be hard, they will kill you, and they're just gonna drop, as you can see, tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of loot. If you get unlucky like that one, nothing drops fractured. But overall, what happens is you're just looking to open up boxes. Am I just getting unlucky all of a sudden? What is going on? Are none of these fractured? Huh? Watch, I'm gonna do this whole map. I'm gonna use whole map now. Nothing's gonna be fractured and everything's gonna be broken, and I'm gonna straight panic, and everybody's gonna Ella giggle me in the comments. Wait a second. Where's all my fractured loot? There it is. I was getting a little concerned there, but you can see they drop tons and tons. Look at it all. Okay, this is all the loot that's just like skipping, that you just don't see because it's all getting filtered out. But my point of the matter is anyways, these maps are going to be very difficult. They're going to be extremely rippy, and you're going to need a character that is very strong to do this. Even my character, in its current state of things, depending on how I roll these maps, actually struggles a little bit. The boxes are really rough. They're really hard. There's rogues all over the map. And if I would have done this map with Deli on it, odds are I wouldn't even have made it as far as I made it, because I would have just been like AoE'd, blown up, just out of the map altogether. In terms of everything, you're looking for good suppression bases, you're looking for high chaos roll bases, and a common question that I get a lot is, why would you hunt and look for fractured bases? And you can see like all the stuff that's just being filtered out. Why would you hunt for fractured bases when you could just do the graveyard? In essence, you're right. There is the ability to go make any fractured item you want out of the graveyard, but there is a lot of players that don't want to deal with the graveyard. There's a lot of players who also just don't know how to do the graveyard, and they'd rather just go buy loot. There are mods from the graveyard that are untagged, that are not easy to go and get, so it's a lot easier to just, you know, go hunt for them. Earlier today, I found a weapon with chaos.multi on it, or .multi on it. It sold for 50 divs. Good suppression bases are multiples of divs, and you get a lot of really cool stuff when you're doing this farm that drops a lot of really interesting things. Unfortunately, though, this map is not being my best friend, but I do have to show these maps, and I do have to explain that sometimes when you do this strategy, RNG will be RNG. You'll get loot, you'll get good loot, you'll get bad loot, you won't get any loot, and it's just something that you really want to consider. The upside to doing what we're doing is we have 30 plus boxes worth of maps. You see, I haven't even probably gotten through a quarter of this map yet, and there's pretty much stuff everywhere. There's boxes everywhere. There's rogue exiles everywhere. There's stuff to click on. There's all kinds of fractured stuff to look at. And this is why the armor is important, because if you look here, right here at this pack of mobs, all of this stuff dropped identified, and it all got filtered out by the filter. And you can pretty much just tailor your filter to show you all kinds of different things that you want. Now, one of the things that I've talked to a lot of people about, and something that's really cool to know, is item rarity is making a lot of these items, a lot of the magic items uptick to rare. There is an argument for some case of minus to rarity to force more blue items, which is really nice. And you'll get more of what just happened right here, where like this is identified, this is identified. Sometimes you just roll bad, and sometimes you'll just roll really good. But, you know, there is an argument for less rarity. And then you'll get stuff like this where you're like, oh man, this looks really cool, I should probably check this. And then you take a look, and this is like 30, 40C. And somebody here is going to, the comments are going to be like, oh, but it's only 30C. Why would I waste my time for 30C? Well, in the current state of the economy, 100C to a divine, that's 0.3 a divine, and you're trying to pay off your map. And I will tell you, surprisingly enough, these fractures, a lot of them sell. And when I mean they sell fast. Very, very, very fast. Something really cool to note too is when you're doing this strategy, because we're using Vaal Temple maps and we're 5-to-1ing them, you don't have to 5-to-1 them. You can actually just run Vaal Temple. Vaal Temple is perfectly fine to run. Some people just want to run Vaal Temple, and it's up to you. You don't have to do all the hoops that I'm jumping through to do this strat. You can just run Vaal Temple. But one of the really cool things to know is because we're doing Vaal Temple, and because we have these Vaal vessels, we get stuff like this that just drops. And we get a lot, and I mean a lot of fracture, you know, unique items that are corrupted and or double corrupted. And the nature of Vaal Temple has always been to hunt really cool items. So sometimes while you're doing this, you're gonna find just uniques that are going to be like really sweet. You're also gonna get a lot of these random jewels that have corrupted blood on them. A lot of random corrupted blood jewels sell for a divine. There's also really cool things that you can do with Viridian jewels that you can use mythic orbs on them. If you know that, you can get cool jewels that have corrupted blood on them plus some other stuff, and then you can mythic orb them into really cool unique jewels. And there's just overall a lot of things that you can do on this map. You see, like I was doing this map earlier in the earlier while yapping, because that's what we're doing, and you know, it started out really rough. There wasn't a whole lot of loot. There wasn't a whole lot going on. And now as we're progressing through this, we're seeing tons and tons of different fractures, all kinds of different loot. We're opening up a ton of these boxes. And depending on how you want to scale your filter, when you open these boxes, I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff on the floor. Now, if you're going to ask me what loot filter am I using, I'm using Redviles loot filter. You can find it on his profile and his Twitch stream. All of that stuff is linked down below. I am not smart enough to make a filter for this. This is all way up and above and beyond my head. So I really encourage you guys to give Red a follow. Go check out his content. And just, you know, if you do the strategy and it is something that works out really well for you, please, by all means, let him know that you tried it. Let him know that I sent you over there and that it is working great. If you are trying this strategy and something breaks or doesn't work, or you don't know if you're doing something right, or you have just overall questions, don't hesitate to leave a like, a comment down below, ask whatever you want, stop by the Discord, stop by the live stream. I didn't think originally when I was going to do this that I was going to catch myself doing this for a long time, but the more that I do this and the more that I run this and the more that I interact with the strategy, the more that I find it myself really, really, really enjoying it, and the more that I just like want to keep messing around with it. Oh, that's cool. Corrupted blood again. And it's kind of fun to look at loot on the ground. One of my favorite old strategies that I used to do was hunting synthesized items, and since that's cool, and since there's no longer the ability to hunt synthesized items anymore, this gives me that and fills that void of like, you just never know what you're gonna loot that's gonna be a high ticket item. Now I know somebody's gonna ask me how they know what they should be looting and what they shouldn't be looting, what kind of items should they be looking at, what kind of fractures should they keep or should they not keep. Honestly, that's gonna be up to you. And depending on like what kind of trades you want to make, do you want to take 20C trades, 10C trades? I do all kinds of trades, but you're going to have to spend some time. You're going to have to spend learning what fractures are good, what fractures are bad, what you want to keep, what you don't want to keep. Like, for example, this 51 int, like you should really just spend 10 seconds and click murder boots, 51 int fracture, and just double check. These are 20C boots. I went to go throw them on the ground. I'm silly. I should have kept it. You know, this over here, 60 int on some silken boots. These are, you know, just random. Okay. Yep. You just never know what you're going to find that you should double and triple check that's going to be worth something. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of fractures that people don't really consider that people are buying. And you can just make a killing off of. I've done maps where I've made 1 divine, and I've done maps where I've made 75 divines in a map. The big thing that you have to take away is like, even though some of these stuff, you know, are 20, 30C, 1 div, 5 div, 10 div, your profit per hour, your profit per map, or whatever metric you want to use is going to be reliant solely on the fact that stuff sells. And originally when I did this farm and I started checking out things and I was like messing around with it, stuff wasn't really selling. And I talked to my buddy who was doing it, who was making a killing, and he was just like, hey man, you're just pricing your stuff too high. So if you're gonna try this and none of your stuff sells and you're just like, hey, you know, I got baited, I tried this, none of my stuff sells, I'm not making any money. Honest to God, dude, just lower, just undercut everybody. Undercut, just do it. I know somebody's gonna get mad at me for saying that, but if you want your stuff to sell and you're impatient and you need money right away, just undercut everybody, it'll be fine. Perfect, don't even worry about it, just undercut. You'll have a great time. And I mean, just looking at this map, it cost me 20 C of Vaal Temple. So it was a divine to re-roll this map. It cost me 6 C to split it. So we're at, we'll just say 1.1 div. It cost me another divine in scarabs, or like 1.5 divines in scarabs. So each one of these maps that you're running costs you about 2.5 divs. So we split the map. If we split the map, it's essentially 1.25 divs a map, which is about 125 C a map. In theory, or well, I mean, I guess it is 2 divs a map because like you're splitting them and you need, wait, how does the math work? I'm leaving this in. I'm leaving my bad math in so you guys can laugh at me. It's 100 C a map split, so it becomes half the cost or something like that because you get 2. And then it's another like div and change, 1.2 divs. So it's like 2 divs a map. And if you find a couple of tier 17s in a map, you're fine. Or if you roll your map for barrels, you're fine. Or you find a cool fracture like this, you're fine. Or you sell multiple small fractures, you're fine. It's okay. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. If it's something like, if you're listening to me do this map and you're like, this sounds terrible, don't do it. You're right. It's bad. Don't do it. Don't bother. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. You let me do what I'm doing, making no money at all, trying to show you what to do. Just go about your happy little way. I will say though, this is probably never going to be as much money as doing back to basics barrel tier 17 crazy shenanigans. That's probably actually just going to always be more consistent profit if you're like huge on the profit per hour aspect of things. But in terms of like really cool lottery, a really interesting take on something new to do, this becomes a lot of fun to do. Also, it's really easy to get the materials to do like 40 or 50 maps of these in a row. Ooh. You know, you just go and trade. Everything's in the bulk trade site. You don't have to go to like TFT for anything. You don't have to go to outside resource for everything. Everything's like bulk buy on the trade site, and it just becomes really easy to do everything, you know? So just something to think about. As far as the rest of this map goes, I mean, like, there's going to be a lot of like going to town and dropping items off and looking at items, and pricing out items, which I should go do. And I encourage you guys to do as well. And, you know, it's just something different to do. It's not tier 17. It's not craziness. It's not, you know, all of what's going on. But if you're looking for something different, I really encourage giving it a try. If you have other really cool ideas or you want to share your farming strategy, by all means, please leave a comment down below. Come by the Discord, let me know. Stop by the live stream. I'd love to hear like some of the really cool things that you guys are doing. But for me, honestly, I'm just going to keep hunting around for other really fun non-tier 17 strats to do, because as much as I like tier 17s, I know there's a lot of you guys that can't really do them and would like to do other really cool things. So I'm gonna hunt around for other really cool things to find, and you know, if we find something cool, you know, I'll be sure to let you guys know. But for now, friends, I'm gonna get all of this priced out. I'm gonna go finish my map, and well, I'll see you all in the next one.